Hey everyone, welcome back. Today I want to talk about my favorite speakers of all time. Let's just do top 3 speakers of all time. I've been doing this hi-fi thing for 35 years, but really only seriously in the last 23 years. I've heard some amazing speakers. I've had speakers in my home that range from $200. I believe the most expensive speaker I've had in my space was $42,000 retail. I never had the courage to go up past that, and the reason why is my experience with those $42,000 speakers, which wasn't really that great. So today I want to talk about my favorite 3 speakers of all time, and let's just get started with number 3. Now I'm going to combine bookshelf and floor stander into one, and because now that I'm thinking about it, I think we'll do top 5 speakers of all time. So number 5 in my favorite speakers of all time would be the original Sonus Faber Guarneri. Now this is a bookshelf speaker. Beautiful construction made out of real wood. The stone stands and the solid wood, the solid wood pillar stand and the stone base. It really looked incredible for the time when it came out. Now these were designed by Franco Serblin of Sonus Faber, who has since passed away, but he was responsible for the brand's most iconic and most cherished designs. And I believe the original Guarneri is one of his finest achievements. It had the looks, the style, and that pure, clean sound. The mid-range was so special, especially for the time. One of the most magical systems I ever heard was those original Sonus Faber Guarneri matched up with a set of Carry Audio 805C monoblock Class A set tube amps. And the preamp, I think I was using a Carry SLP 98P, and that was pure magic. I think I had a Carry 306 200 CD player, and when music would come through those speakers in my space, it was heavenly, it was divine, it was just about perfect for my tastes. That was probably 20 years ago now that I had that system. And the weakness with that system was it did not do well with any kind of heavy music like rock or metal, EDM, simply because the bass of the Guarneri was not the most pronounced. Sure, you could add subs with it. I never did, but it was just such a pure speaker and sound with that haunting mid-range. And I'm a sucker for a great mid-range. So the Sonus Faber Guarneri homage is my number 5 favorite speaker of all time. So my 4th favorite speaker of all time is a floor standing speaker. It's the QLN Prestige Three speakers. I know they've since come out with a larger model, but I had the Prestige Threes, and they reminded me a lot of those Guarneri, the original Guarneri, because they were so smooth, so clean, had such a ripe, present bass. There was something special about the mid bass and the bass of the QLN Prestige 3, as well as their looks and design. It was a simple 2-driver floor mount or floor standing speaker with beautiful looks, a slight slant, and the sound that came out of these speakers was it was smooth, it was clean, it had that perfect mid bass and lower bass. The bass that comes out of the Prestige 3s will shock you. They're very special speakers that stood out above many others at the time for me. I think I ran them with a Vinnie Rossi L2i SE integrated amp, which was also incredible at the time. And I remember listening to the QLNs thinking these will do good for just about any music. Now, the thing is with the QLNs, they sounded great with metal, they sounded great with rock, they sounded great with jazz, they sounded great with almost anything I put through them. Really love those speakers, but I believe they were sold off with the Vinnie Rossi when we were moving 2,000-mile move, and we sold pretty much everything and moved with just a little bitty truck full of stuff. So Those were some fantastic speakers that implanted a really good memory in my mind of them. Let's move on to number 3. Now, what is the number 3? My favorite speaker in the number 3 slot has to go to the Klipsch Heresy IV. Now, these are not the most refined speakers. They're not going to sound clean, as detailed as some modern day high-end audiophile speakers. But the one thing the Klipsch Heresy IV does, one of the things the Heresy IV does extremely well is, again, that mid-range. They have an exciting and live listen. The top end will come out at you, right? They're a little bit forward sounding. They have decent bass. In fact, the Heresy IV really improves on the mid bass and the bass performance of the previous Heresy 3. I really enjoyed the 3, but the 4s have been with me since they came out. I still have a set of Heresy 4s. I have Forte 4s. I have La Scalas. But the Heresy 4s to me are a little special speaker. I love the fact that they sit on the floor, that they're slightly tilted, that they're short and squat. They look like they're something from a bygone era, because they are. They just have some modern updated internals these days. The Heresy IV from Klipsch plays well with Fleetwood tube amps or even high-powered solid state. You just got to be careful not to run a piece of electronics that are bright, right? You don't want anything bright hooked up to the Heresy 4s, because they can either be plump, big, huge, and smooth sounding, or they can be grating, hard, and really give you a headache. That depends on your front end. That depends on your source and your amplification. Pair the Heresy IV with a nice tube amp, tube integrated amp, or something that's a little on the less exciting side. Pair it with a streamer and DAC that can give kick and punch, and you'll have one heck of an exciting listen. Anytime people talk about Klipsch heritage, they say they're fun speakers. Well, yeah, they are very fun, but they're also very, very serious speakers. They soundstage, they image, they do everything the big boys do. They're just not as refined in the top end, and they're a smidge colored in that mid-range. So I love the Heresy 4s. These are speakers I will never get rid of. I still have them, and I still listen to them on occasion. So moving on, my number 2 favorite speaker of all time, and this has to be the Dynaudio Heritage Special. Now, I have this love for Dynaudio speakers, not all of them, but they sometimes make a killer speaker that is beautiful to look at and beautiful to listen to. Now, Dynaudio has a house sound. They're very clean. They have very tight bass that is, you'll always get more bass out of a Dynaudio stand mount than you expect to. The little Heritage Special is a dynamo. It's a powerhouse. It can deliver kick. It can deliver a massive wide sound stage with precise detailed imaging. The mid-range is not as fleshed out as something like a Klipsch Heresy IV, the QLN Prestige, but it has transparency. It has amazing treble performance, the air. It does all that stuff, the 3D thing. The only thing with the Heritage Special is, depending on your room size and how you're powering them, you may need a subwoofer. When I had them in here, I thought they were the best thing I've ever heard in a stand-mounted speaker. And they are. They are my favorite stand-mounted speaker of all time. But after listening to bigger speakers, I realized I was missing some bass performance. I would have been better off with a sub. But the Heritage Specials are really, I think 10 years from now, they're going to be sought after on the used market because they look amazing. They have a classic appeal to them. There's beauty in the design and style because, again, it's another speaker that took me back to the 70s, right? It just looks beautiful. The sound quality is astonishing with the Heritage Special, but again, with any speaker, you must drive them right for your room size. Dynaudio Heritage Special, they're not cheap. They're limited in the numbers that are being made. My number 2 favorite speaker of all time, which leads me to number 1. Now, Number one should be of no surprise to any of you who've watched me, but it's the speakers I have right here next to me, the Fleetwood Devilles. Now, I have the Deville SQs here, which are their supreme quality version. I have the standard Devilles here. You can see one right behind me. I've been comparing them. I have to send back the standards to Fleetwood Sound because I did trade up and pay extra for the SQs. These by far are the best speakers I've ever heard, tested, or owned in my life. These are speakers that once you hear them properly set up in your space, and this happened to me, once I got the right pairing of electronics, DAC, cables even, everything, these things just delivered music in a way that I've never heard before. Now these use a conical horn for the tweeter, and it has a bass driver, which our professional drivers, Fleetwood doesn't skimp out in the construction of the Devilles. That is why they cost so much money. The wood, they're all solid wood. There's no pressed wood or particle board here, and the wood is torrefied or roasted, and this keeps it from having issues with expansion and contraction, and it looks beautiful as well. You could see the wood grain. They're just works of art, and they sound as good as they look. I can't imagine being without them, and there's no other speaker on the market, no matter the cost, no matter the brand, that I would want to replace these with. They deliver music in a way that is human, that is organic, that is natural, that is both expansive and magical and three-dimensional, but it also has that warmth of a human touch that delivers that mid-bass and bass to your room. It makes music sound whole and complete. I absolutely miss nothing in the music with the Fleetwood Devilles. They will be, and I guarantee you this, the speakers that die with me. There's nothing else I've heard better. There's nothing else I've heard that touches my emotions more so than the Devilles. I'll have a comparison, official comparison video from the SQs to the standards here soon on the channel. I did review the standards. If you missed that, you could check it out here on the channel. So those are my top 5 favorite speakers of all time. Maybe one day I'll do my least favorite, bottom 3 of all time. I don't know if there's an interest for that, but I do have some stories to tell about some pretty expensive speakers. So let me know what you want to see. If you like this, thumbs up and subscribe, and I'll be back with more soon. Bye.